hoy estoy con Joe,
Y vamos a salir de closet.
conmigo.
O solo.
Qué honor.
3, 2, 1.
Here we go. He's the first Cuban-American elected from Florida to Congress. Today, not only I have the honor, oye, este hombre tiene huevo porque sentarse conmigo no es fácil. Y mucha gente le ha cogido miedo al closet. Thank you, Joe Garcia, for being in the closet.
I like being in the closet with you.
With me?
With you. Porque when you're in the closet alone, it's not as much fun. Pero first Cuban-American Democrat.
Democrat, yes.
like
Cuban-American Democrat,
Florida.
yes. We want to, because it's a rare thing, by the way.
It's a rarity, you know. I get FBI protection because I'm like a rare thing.
A rare-
Cuban. There's two of us here, so there's probably.
I'm an independent.
Oh, okay. Well, then there's no police protection.
There's no police protection for me, but I do vote both sides. I do both sides. You know.
I used to do that.
I used to do that, and what happened? You became a Democrat, and now you can't.
I realized that one side lets me sleep at night, and
Yeah.
another one makes me very nervous because I think we're in a tough period, and I think the Republicans. I have a lot of Republican friends. I'm a Cuban from Miami, so you're surrounded. You're an oddity when you're a Democrat, but to some degree, part of the reason that you vote that way is because you meet people and you say, "This is a good guy. He's not going to steal. He's going to do the right thing." But I think right now there's almost a sense of collaboration, right? Even my friends that are Republicans, when I talk to them, they're nervous, they're scared.
But they would not come out and say it, Joe.
Of course.
They could not.
But that's the point, right? The point is, listen, you can elect anyone, right? Most people aren't thieves, don't rob, and they want to do the right thing.
Most
Right?
who?
Most people, as a general rule.
Uh,
I'm not politicians.
okay.
And so when you look at basic people, you don't elect them for the easy stuff. You elect them for when things are hard, right? When they have a concentration camp in Miami-Dade County. Nosotros los cubanos hablamos de libertad y yo me muero por la libertad.
But yet we vote for Trump.
No, y nos quedamos callados mientras meten nuestra gente en un campo de concentración.
We shed on
stay
Che.
quiet.
We shed on Che because he sent the gays to concentration camps, but yet we applaud DeSantis for doing the same to los idos 20A.
Correct. And I think that's something wrong. And I think I'm very disappointed in a lot of my Republican friends. I mean, some of them I understand politically that you can't be in the room if they throw you out of the room. But I also think the lack of courage when you're confronted with evil. And I think some of the things that are going on. Listen, I've talked to Trump. I've worked with Trump people in the past, many years ago before he was president. So I know him. But I think we're at a very different point. And I think a lot of the things that are going on are just wrong. And in particular in this community where we've structured our rhetoric about ourselves and how we define ourselves as being pro-democracy, pro-liberty, pro-human rights. And then we see these things disappear all of a sudden.
Do you think that the Cuban exile votes, and this is a question that when I go to American, especially African Americans podcast, they ask me this question. Do you think that the Cubans will ever get out of the political party that we always en masse vote for, which is the Republican?
Look, I think several things are going to change that, right? So historically, for example, African Americans in the United States were Republicans. Martin Luther King was a Republican. And when that begins to change is when he got arrested. He called Coretta Scott King, called Nixon, who was running for president, and she called Kennedy. Kennedy did something. Neither one was president, but one picked up the phone and tried to do something. The other one didn't. And I think that realigned. And I think part of the problem is that we are, Cubans as a general rule, are reactive. Right?
We're emotional, not logical.
Correct. And in many respects, we're the victims of a great trauma. We, our families, what's happened to those around us. You know, in my case, my parents came here when my dad was 18, my mom was 19. I was born when they were both 20. And in our house was my 13-year-old father's second cousin who was being raised by two 18-year-olds. And so the idea, that we were all part of a process that was very, very harrowing. And then people keep coming, so the trauma gets lived. But part of the problem is we're a reaction. So if Fidel is left, I'm right. If Fidel's a communist, then I'm a right.
But Fidel wasn't left or right. Fidel was a
not.
communist and a dictator. And when are we going to
real? Like Trump isn't a Republican.
No, he's okay. Let's talk about the Republican Party right quick. When are people gonna realize that the Republican Party died with McCain?
Well, I think it's going to take going through this process. And
so Trump is necessary, is what you're saying?
No, I'm not saying he's necessary. Obviously, esto no es secuta, some medicine you have to take. But I do think here's where we are. We're not somewhere else. And we're dealing with a guy who's there, right? And he's doing bad things that we disagree with. And Republicans are supporting him. So right now, he is the Republican Party. But to some degree, there's going to be hell to pay for this. Just like Democrats had to pay for their wrong policies, right? The Democrats were on the wrong side of the Civil War. We were on the wrong side of civil rights for a long time. And then we had great leaders like LBJ and others who changed the course of our party. Kennedy, LBJ, Franklin Delano Roosevelt, Truman, who moved the party to a much more progressive place. And I think to some degree there is a realignment that is going on, and Trump seized on this. He's a populist, and he's playing on a lot of things that we historically have defined in very different ways, but we're going through this period. And when this is all done, one or the other will be less for it. But the reality is, I think we're going to have a realignment regardless.
Do you think that Trump speaks to the IQ of the world, especially America right now?
I think Trump,
I asked that very nice because you are here. You see how respectful I was to ask that question in a way that
yes, you didn't burn me.
You see?
No, I think that all good communicators in politics have to be able to speak to a very broad swath of the electorate. And I think while some people may see Trump's speech as stupid or dumb, but it communicates what he wants to do. He repeats it often. He puts it in front of you, and it's very visceral. And it's sort of like people. It's sort of like an eye for an eye makes sense, but it makes the world blind. I mean, I understand that it's a natural response. If he hurts me, I'm going to hurt him. But that doesn't solve anything, right? And the whole concept of a society is getting beyond things, is solving things, is making sure that your children will have a better life than you had, just like you had a better life than your parents had. And so part of what I think we find ourselves in this point is that a lot of people are frustrated about where they find themselves.
What it's going to take for me to trust politicians is absolutely nothing, because I am disgusted. I've been in Miami since I am 12 years old. I was raised in a school with Demetrio Perez, so you already know where I come from. Politics has been on my... And you a Miami guy.
Yes.
Being raised in Lincoln Marti, you are politics whether you like it or not. Well,
I think to some degree, part of the problem is that we are diminished in our observation of politics because we're not allowed to play.
Yes.
It's sort of like our national sport is politics because we don't have politics, right? Like Cuba doesn't have politics, right? And so all we are is a response to that. And so our politics is very emotive, but not very effective. Our politics is very much about the heart, but the central core of our politics, from a definitional point of view, you said to me a few minutes before we started, is I want a free Cuba, which is understandable. And I think everybody.
But free from what? Because I want a free Cuba, but I want a free Cuba without the issues that we are having in the United States right now. And I feel that you're going to disagree with me because yes. Cuba will never be free because Cubans cannot be free in this country. The Cubans' minds have been fucked for so many years that we cannot even respect freedom. Number one, we don't have freedom. We have liberty. If we had freedom, it would be the same freedom for every single administration. Our liberties have changed, depends on the administrations. And you are politicians, you understand what I'm talking about. Many people don't. I don't feel that we are free in the United States. I feel that we do have liberties, But we are not free in the United States.
Well, I think we're less free, I think, than we were before, and I think freedoms have responsibilities also, and part of having a working democracy is that we have to engage. Listen, I don't believe you should trust politicians, but you have to understand they're necessary in the process, right? Because there is no alternative.
That's not how people say it, Joe. People say it's a necessary evil.
I think the ethic of politics is necessary, but there's a difference.
It's a game
There's a
that you have to
difference.
play for whatever you believe in.
Right.
I've learned that the hard way. I've
Right.
learned that the hard way.
Correct, and there are norms in a society that you have to behave. You probably less than I, but to some degree, we
No,
all
so
live.
to get into some places, yes.
You have to understand and speak within the norms. But part of what we try to do, y parte de lo que somos parte de esta comunidad. Y a veces no nos damos cuenta. We don't realize the broader community, right? And Miami is a very insular place, even though it's a very diverse place. The communities are very insular, right? The Cubans hang out with the Cubans, the Venezuelans with the Venezuelans, and that's typical of every place.
But when shit
But
goes
Miami-
down, we all go together.
I don't know. I mean, this is one of
Before
those
it used to
examples.
be like before we
Oh,
used
absolutely.
to. Before we used to, we
But
live.
we also do things that aren't. For example, let's use the Venezuelans. Right? The Cubans were very supportive of the Venezuelans when they first came here, right? But to some degree, the Venezuelans made this huge mistake. They copied us, and we have not been successful in what we set ourselves to do, right? We've been tremendously successful in the city. We've been tremendously successful as a political project in
Let
America.
me say that in Spanish right quick for his family, because I am married to a Venezuelan family for 15 years. Los venezolanos nos copiaron no solamente el libreto, nos copiaron desde las emociones hasta la forma de votar, y por eso están tan jodidos como nosotros y no van a salir de ahí. Coge, Joe.
Yo no lo dije tan salvajemente, pero parte que yo siempre le decía a mis amigos venezolanos, oye, imítanos. Hay muchas cosas que los cubanos should be imitated, right? They're, getting involved, participating, voting. But the way we've wanted to affect that has been a failure, because if the whole point was how we vote and how we achieved the capacity, in our case, to want Cuba to be free or to want to go back,
Correct.
we failed. We failed horribly. And
But we failed for 70 years, Joe.
Like,
Joe, what are we doing wrong? When are we going to learn?
There's a lot of things
like what?
we're doing wrong.
By the way, let me tell you something. He is a man that takes charge. I had a whole script. I had a whole idea of this, and we went straight to what he wanted. He is a true politician.
No, we can talk about whatever
He's
you want.
a true politician.
we can
What are we
talk.
doing wrong?
Look, I think in the Cuba thing, we have failed to understand that we're not the ones in Cuba. We're not going to liberate Cuba standing in Miami. Screaming in front of Versailles is not going to liberate Cuba.
The croquetas
Tú
are
te
good,
puedes
but yeah.
hablar toda la basura que tú quieras delante de Versailles. No
va a hacer
vas a
nada.
cambiar Cuba. Puedes hablar todo lo que tú quieras en la radio aquí. El pueblo de Cuba está en Cuba. Y nosotros lo que tenemos que ser útil, we have to be useful, y tenemos que ayudarlo. Tenemos que mirar cómo nosotros podemos trabajar con ellos para buscar una mejor Cuba, un mejor futuro para esa persona. Yo no soy comunista, yo no quiero comunismo para Cuba, pero ¿tú crees que eso hay que explicárselo a los cubanos? ¿Tú crees que el cubano que está en la oscuridad, que no tiene petróleo para su carro, que los hijos no pueden ir al colegio, que el trabajo no funciona porque no hay recursos para el trabajo, ¿tú crees que a esa persona hay que explicarle que el comunismo no funciona? ¿O tú no crees que está claro? Entonces, pero nosotros los cubanos, hay una frase de Reinaldo Arenas, un autor cubano muy prominente, gay, que se murió, vino en Mariel y se murió aquí después de Mariel, decía que el cubano ni puede sufrir ni divertirse en silencio, ¿no? Nosotros expresamos nuestras emociones muy acertados. Es muy diferente al americano, ¿no? Yo hago el cuento que si están dos americanos sentados y pasa una mujer desnuda, los americanos se miran uno al otro, no tienen que decir nada. Está en cuera, los dos lo vimos, ya. No, los cubanos se tienen que empezar. ¿Viste eso? ¿Y cómo? ¿Y esta? ¿Y esta? Y
Se entera todo el mundo, se entera todo el mundo. Sácame el teléfono y todo. Se entera todo el mundo.
Entonces, es parte de nuestra cultura. Entonces, parte de lo que nos tenemos que dar cuenta es que si nosotros queremos ser útiles en Cuba, hay que ser útil a Cuba. Y no es al gobierno de Cuba, pero a las personas en Cuba. Entonces, tú no me puedes decir a mí que porque la madre de alguien pase hambre en Cuba, se va a liberar Cuba.
No te puedo decir eso. No te puedo decir tampoco que nada de lo que se está haciendo ha liberado a Cuba, porque for so many years, since I have uso de razón, I am 43 and I've been in this exilio since I am 12. Y el único motivo por lo que se ha votado la mayoría de las personas a mi alrededor, por todos estos congresistas cubanos americanos, que toda su plataforma de política es we're gonna liberate Cuba from María Elvira Salazar to Rosletin to Lincoln Díaz Valar to Marco Rubio to Jiménez to everybody, including you. Including you.
Including me.
Including you.
Including me.
Right? Which out of everybody that I say, you're the only one that is from the other party, by the way.
Right.
Including you, it's because of Cuba. And
Because it's a central issue for our community. It's a defining issue. It's
but I
something
live
that-
here, Joe. We
got
need
it.
to stop. We need
I
to
agree.
stop.
I agree. But I think you can do both. And yo no pienso
Coño, Joe, we can do both. How? These people have been there forever, jodiéndonos aquí because of Cuba.
Let me turn that on you. Porque en algún sentido, we've stood the long watch, we've fought the long battle. Hemos estado ahí, hemos sido constantes y no nos hemos olvidado de nuestras raíces. Tú eres un perfecto ejemplo. Tú viniste aquí de niña. Yo, que estoy hablando contigo en español, I am speaking in Spanish to you, was born here. And I talk about Cuba all the time. I visited Cuba. I've met with people inside of Cuba, both dissidents and government people, trying to find a solution because the solution to Cuba is there. But we can play a role. I'm not saying that we can be the architects, but I want you to take back a step. Part of the success we've had as a community is that we haven't forgotten. Mm-hmm. And that affinity to our homeland, not forgetting those who we left behind, not forgetting is an important thing. And our struggle, while we may not have had the right target, while we may not have had the right strategy, we never gave up. And I think as a general rule, people still see that as part of what defines us as Cubans, right? Different communities have different things. And I think we're at the sort of end point of a lot of that, right? What Trump has done.
Not only that, Joe, I also feel we're on the end of it because el exilio viejo está extinguido. Vamos a estar ya.
Sí, pero se va renovando.
Pero se va renovando con una mentalidad diferente.
Correcto.
And what I'm seeing,
muy diferente.
And what I'm seeing, el exilio está muy dividido ahora mismitito.
Pero el exilio siempre ha estado dividido. Y ese concepto que el exilio era de una voz, siempre ha tenido diferentes voces. El problema es que la división del exilio también es como tú bien dices, es la conclusión de una generación. Yo, casi toda la gente que me empezaron, that got me started in looking for a free and democratic Cuba, because I was born here, most of them are dead. And most of them were good.
And they fought with the people. And they fought en un tiempo where people thought differently y pensó diferente. Eran un tipo de cubano totalmente
Angelina,
diferente.
You got to understand, almost 1 million Cubans came into the United States in the last 5.5 years. 1 million. Half of them got parole. The other half got I-228. Pero how is that not going to change us, right? That, of course, it's going to change. It's a different reality. It's a different mindset, a different way of communicating, which, by the way, is fantastic. They have higher levels of education. They have higher levels of family, right? Because they came and they already had somebody here. So they incorporate much faster. They're productive much more quickly. And so it's a very good thing. I mean, I know this is hard to discuss in today's world, but we're in many respects, I know that Trump and the Republicans are very anti-immigrant. But if there's an example of immigration working, it is Miami. It is a place that renourishes itself, reinvents itself, and literally lives because you have these waves of people who come here to refresh the community and make it better every time.
Do you think we are stronger today in the government as we were today, or we are declining in our power as Cubans?
We have more power. Cuban-Americans have more power than they've ever had. Obviously, a Secretary of State is a Cuban-American. There's senators and members of Congress. But we are weaker in the sense that we're only a one-party group. And when both parties try to get your vote, you have much more power. And when people say, well, the Cubans are Republicans, they don't campaign for you because they know where you're going to be, or like African Americans, they're Democrats, so the Republicans don't reach out to them, which I think is a mistake, both from the politician's point of view as well as from the voters' point of view. Because I agree with you, there are times when we may be wrong. There are times when there is a good, decent person, and you say, listen, I disagree with you on some basic things, but you know what? I think in this race, you're better than the other guy. So I'm going to vote for the Republican. I think today we find ourselves in a very different place because of the silence, because of horrible things happening in our society, to mores that we understood as central to the American experience that are disappearing.
The American experience, the American dream has shifted. This is not me making it up only because I agree with it. It's also because studies and many groups of people are stating that the American dream right now it's moving outside of the United States and living the retirement there because it has been impossible to live in the United States after retirement. What are we doing to better that? Because my mother is 69 years old. What a great age. Just she's not enjoying it because she's too old. And she cannot live with, my mom is 69 years old, but she is like 80 right now. I know people that are on their 60s and living life. My mom, she lives of her retirement. She cannot pay the $10,000 property tax for this house that she have worked for. And like her, this whole neighborhood.
Of course.
What are we doing?
Well, look, this is part of the affordability crisis. It's part of why the whole discussion around politics is suddenly changing because, it's sort of like they say to you, oh, Florida has very low taxes. Yeah, it has low taxes, but it has high fees. And so, I have low taxes, but I can't afford the insurance on my house. I have low taxes, but
my insurance is $7,000, and my house taxes are $17,000 a year.
It's brutal. It's brutal.
And then
it's
citizens,
only going to get worse.
And then citizens, it's coming every 3-6 months trying to get me off the policy. She's like, what are we doing? Who do I have to see? Who is responsible for this?
Well, that's the governor. And I think, Florida has done nothing about affordability. It's part of the reason that people are so angry in South Florida because this is one of the most expensive places to live in the country. We have brutally high rents. We have very expensive housing. And while, people say, oh, well, it's slowing down. Yeah, but when it slows down, it also hurts because our economy is kept up by construction, which is a huge part of our economy. But you see that the president has created a policy that's very much against visitors. Well, 40 some odd % of all the apartments sold in Miami-Dade County, high-end apartments, are sold to people.
It's out of state,
out of the country.
Out of the country, I'm saying,
and
out of the country.
When people are in South Florida and they're scared that somebody is going to arrest them with the wrong visa, they don't come.
What is this idea of this administration that we don't need anybody and we only need Americans? Americans are not even Americans. Like Americans, we are what made this country. Like where these crazy things come from and why are so many Cubans behind the idea that we don't need any more people? You are here because we needed more people.
Right. I think it has to do with insecurity. I mean, it is in the history of the world. There's never been a great country that is losing people. I need you to understand this. This is important. No great country in history, whether it was the Romans or the Babylonians or the Persians, or all of them have immigration. Because when you are the thing, when you are the place people think the future is better, people come there. And it, of course, makes you richer. It doesn't debilitate you. It makes you capable of achieving more. Because people who come from a different place, they bring the best tendencies that they had in another place, and they adopt your best tendencies, and they make the process better. And that's been the history of America always. But there's always, in all cultures, this sort of nativist thing that comes up every while, which you're living through now, where people, are against everybody who doesn't look like them, or against all new Americans, when they don't realize that they're essential. We not only need the people we want to deport now, we need another 15 million people in this country in the next 20 years to be able to make sure you can retire. I'm already old, but you can retire and others can retire. Almost, I think the number is $43 billion a year gets paid by people who are undocumented into Social Security.
And they don't get that. They don't get that.
They pay all their taxes, right? Like this idea. Well, they don't pay. They pay all the taxes. Same tax. If you rent, you may not pay a property tax, but you're paying the property tax through your rent. So part of what we have to understand is as a society, and we have to unfortunately, we're going to go through this difficult period, and then when we get to the other side, we realize we're wrong, and hopefully we'll correct a lot of the mistakes. But you have to fight it, because if you don't fight it, sooner or later they'll get to you. Yeah, they may have started with the Hispanics, but eventually they get to other groups, because of course that's what it is. It's the other within. It's this fear, and it's a ridiculous fear. Our country has never been stronger, has never been more successful. This idea that our education systems are failing, we'll fix them. It's not about what's ruined our education system, or what's making our education system fail is not immigrants. In fact, what we've always been able to do is absorb these people and make the country better, whether it's a Cuban in Miami, whether it's an Italian in New York, whether it's a Senegalese living in D.C. or a Haitian living in New Jersey. They all make the country better if we let them, right? If we keep them out, it hurts them and it hurts the economy. If we find a legal way, that doesn't mean that we have to open our borders. Everybody has to be inspected. Everybody has to be checked. We have to have a policy on immigration. But it shouldn't be a policy to punish those least powerful.
Let's
who
talk
came here
about
at those jobs.
right quick about immigration, because we focus a lot on the fact that, oh, immigration, open policy, oh, everybody's coming through. But the reason why there's many people that are not being able to be legalized is because the immigration system is a piece of crap. Like, it takes years and years
All right,
con una
but I'm gonna give you-
burocracia,
but I'm gonna give
con
you-
una burocracia del carajo.
Horrible.
And it's just like, if you
But I'm
had
gonna-
an immigration system that worked,
I'm gonna say something that's gonna piss off people who watch this. As bad as our immigration system is,
it's the best in the world.
it-
I
because
get it.
You know what it does? But you know what it does? That no other immigration system.
But just because we are the best doesn't mean that we are working. We are
No,
okay,
we
and
should
I'm going to
always-
refute that. I'm
No,
going to
no, but
refute
no,
that.
No, but let me finish the theory, because you jump to the end, and people have to understand what I'm saying. Is that what I know is that your son, which I met before I came in here, is American.
Yes.
There's no question. He may think himself
Cuban-American
in terms of
No, he's
ethnic
not-
identity,
he thinks
but he's
he's
an American. I
American.
was born here. I'm an American.
Yeah.
Right? And what America does better than any else in the world is make Americans. Whether you were someone who came from the Nordic countries 100 or 150 years ago, my future wife, whose family was German, and they settled in the Midwest, they're American. Even though her great grandmother couldn't even speak English, she spoke German when she lived here. Well, that's exactly right. But as the generations go, they become more American. They make the country better. And I agree with you. We have to make the system understandable. We have to make it work. And we have to make it work for all Americans. It can't be, well, I'm going to let all these people in and it displaces Americans. No. It has to be a smart thing that benefits our country. But as bad as we do it,
We do
America
it better
has
than the rest
done
of the world. I
an
get it.
amazing, because when you're French and you're Moroccan always. The French don't consider you. But we consider everyone an American. Yeah, the first generation, they may come with a nasty word to describe you.
We is
but
eventually
eventually-
us, right? But not every American considers Americans, and we are
No,
seeing it today.
I think, but I also think that goes away, and it goes away as people acknowledge it.
Ay,
and
coño,
people
que
have
se
to deal
apuren
with
to go away, porque me
Yes,
la...
I
Ay,
agree,
yo,
but
ya yo
every-
no puedo, tengo los nervios.
Every generation, but you also had a good run. We also had a good run here. You know, listen, I try to understand. Part of what's going on is to humiliate us. Right? Alligator Alcatraz is built in Miami to humiliate the Hispanic community in the United States. There's no question in my mind. They went and created the most expensive thing, and they did it in Dade County, in Miami-Dade County, just because it's the capital of Hispanics in America, to humiliate us, right? Because you and I both know there's a million other places in Florida they could have built that, where you had sanitary conditions, you had running water, you had electricity. No, they have none of those things out there. And what you have is a very dangerous place where people are getting sick, where people are being kept in cages. It's designed purposely by this administration to humiliate us. And so when I see our elected officials say, oh, I saw the cages, they're fine. Those are human beings. They didn't commit any crime.
Yeah, but then they go, Obama also had cages.
No, let me tell you something. I was in the administration when Obama had the crisis on the border, and there's no question that the children crossing the border was a huge problem. I went there. I had a huge fight at the time with Obama's chief of staff because of what was happening. The system was overwhelmed. But we tried to deal with it, right? We had to stop people, categorize them, get them out. That is not what Obama did. Just like when they say, well, Obama deported 2 million people. Yes, at the border. Obama wasn't chasing people in D.C. or New York. He got them on the border and threw them back.
That's the difference. You're
Right?
You're
And
right.
it's a huge
You're
difference.
right about that.
One thing is to pick up a guy
With due process.
with due process, but I pick a guy at the border and I put him back. Another thing is to find
Somebody that is working in
Amalia,
a construction work.
exactly, who's doing, or a lady who works in a hotel
Yeah.
for the last 25 years, and to deport her without letting her family know. There's a huge difference in that. And of course, there's a cruelty in it too, because these people, their children are American. It's like the dreamers. How do you become more American than your parents brought you here at 1 year old? You haven't committed a crime because you lack the mens rea, to the reasoning to have committed a crime. You're a child, and we don't want to legalize you when you studied here, you know the culture, you're part of our country. And I think we have to be more generous in this, because it is through that generosity that America works.
Two more questions, and this is quick. Why every time that we talk about people using social programs, we always focus on the poor people? We always focus on los viejos o la gente que tiene plan 8 or the food stamp. Why that it's minimum of the amount that is spent versus the amount that is spent on Elon Musk,
Correct. Because-
on Trump's $200 million ballroom, on subsidizing companies. Where does this BS?
Yeah, I think
Why don't we always look down and not up?
because I think it's part of a driving force in our culture, right? That we have this theory that we've picked ourselves up from our own bootstraps, ¿no? Que nosotros somos los artífices de nuestro futuro. But of course, you have to understand that part of the reason that you can pick you up from your bootstraps is that you've had a good education, a good family, you've had healthy living, you've had healthy food, you've had a capacity to thrive. And a perfect example of that is Cubans. No immigrant group in the history of the United States has been more subsidized than Cuban Americans. You meet a Cuban who says,
Say that
I
again.
never got $1 from the U.S. government. Let's be clear. When you come here, fíjate, Cubans find socialism when they come here. They get food stamps, they get rent assistance, they
enjoy
get free
it.
education, they get health care, which are the basics, which should be provided to everybody. It's like, for example, do you know the highest inscription rate, paying rate for Obamacare in the country?
Miami.
Hialeah. The highest.
You want to go there?
Hialeah.
We're going to leave that right there because that's another whole show.
It's a whole show.
That's a whole show, Joe.
But I
That's a
love
whole
Hialeah.
show.
I love Hialeah.
That's a whole show. I'm just gonna throw out there, and I don't want explanations. I just want quick answers. Okay.
Okay.
Best president of modern time in the past 20 years, Joe. Don't start
I don't
telling
know
me
about
no
the last
Washington.
20 years, but I think terms of a president that achieved a lot of things, I think Lyndon Johnson was super important. I served for Obama. I think he was a great president. I also think Bill Clinton was a great president.
I think Bill Clinton was a
He did
great
a very good
president. I think was a great president. Should we judge politicians because of their personal lives or just
No.
no?
No. I obviously, if their personal lives, one of the classic examples, Bill Clinton. Bill Clinton had a great presidency, and he had this problem with Monica.
A problem, Joe?
Yeah, because it derailed his agenda. And to
Yeah.
some degree, when it gets in the way of you
How crazy
doing
is that
your
the only
job-
thing that he's reminded of is for that?
No, he's remembered
Ay,
by a
Joe,
lot of things.
everybody, come on.
Because we like them. We're salacious.
Come
love-
on.
people love-
Obamacare, Bill Clinton, Monica Lewinsky. Get out of it. George, el último, the war. 9/11.
That's-
Trump, so many bad things. So many bad
And see,
things.
none of them are sexual
And
yet.
none of them are, no,
I mean,
yes, Stormy Daniels.
He's been found guilty of a bunch of
Oh,
things.
a bunch of stuff,
I'm
but
talking
none of
about
them.
during his presidency.
Do you think when all this administration is out and it's gone, the United States is gonna go bankrupt not only because of the bad decisions, but also with the amount of civil suits that are going to come after these people are out?
No, I don't think so. I think the country is I don't think the country's going to go bankrupt. I think the country's got some very serious fiscal problems, and I think a lot of the things that Trump is doing is going to hurt that. But I still think that in terms of, remember, economy is in comparison to everyone else. We're part of the same economy and part of the underlying aspect. And one of the great things of the world is that it runs on the U.S. dollar, right? People buy our currency to be able to transact, and it makes us stronger, right? And it's part of the reason.
But
that
the dollar
America
is
project-
decreasing though. I just sent
It is
$2,000.
decreasing, but
I just
it's-
sent $2,000 to UK and they received £1,500.
Yeah, but that happens, and sometimes
That's very low.
it is. There's no question
That
about
is,
it.
I mean, I could not travel with $2,000 anywhere
Understand,
right
but you know
now,
that,
Joe.
That over
I like to travel,
over
Joe.
40%. Yes, I understand, but over 40% of Americans don't even have a passport. So
That's their problem.
yeah,
Like I travel,
well,
Joe.
there are different places you can go.
On my American
London-
dollars.
London and Great Britain are always expensive. It's always had a very strong currency, and now in particular because of some of the things we're doing, where the U.S. dollar is weaker, it's having a profound impact.
Joe, Cuba. What you were not born there? Why you so stuck in Cuba, Joe?
Because it's part of the community and part of who I am and part of what my family is, and it's part of their struggle. My family came here very young. One side of my family was Batistiano, so they left. They had to leave early. The other side was not. My parents knew each other in Cuba. They met when they were 13 years old. They're still around. They live a block from me on Miami Beach, so I have breakfast with them almost every day.
That's very
But
cool.
their struggle is my struggle, just like your mother's memories are an essential part of yours.
And my memories,
and
because I
think
remember.
and I think part of our community's ability to go forward is still linked to Cuba to some degree, and I think hopefully in the next few years we'll be able to find a pathway forward where we can make Cuba better and also make Miami richer, because part of what drags Miami is Cuba, right? The as you well know,
For
there are
us.
people, yeah, of course,
For us.
but
Because not for the Haitians, not
No,
for the
but
Dominicans,
part of
not
what
for
hurts,
other
no, but
communities
part of
that
what hurts
also.
the Haitian community is Haiti and
Yeah.
the conditions it's Haiti. You know, like for example, let's use the Dominican Republic. As you know, you've probably gone.
Love it. That's my
love it.
retirement
Okay.
country.
Well, the DR is per capita one of the biggest receivers of remittances in the world, and it's because Dominicans here take care of their family, buy a house, and retire back in the Dominican Republic, and
And then
creates this whole
they're
wealth.
not being shamed for it.
No, of course not. They're proud of it. They're proud
Yeah.
of their connection to their country. I think it makes us stronger. Just like, Americans love the British, right? Because they want to think they're part of Britain. Part of that relationship is important in identifying yourself in a multicultural society. It's good to have a little bit of roots that make you strong. Sooner or later, not your child, but maybe your child's child, your grandkids, will probably have one day a year, Vente de Mayo, where they talk about next year in Havana. But the reality
Do you really
is
think?
that-
Because I think that so much of that is dying and is still being
but
washed
but
by
what
the
what I'm doing
craziness.
is diminishing it to that point. In other words, the idea is, it's like the Irish, right? One day a year, St. Patrick's Day, they celebrate that, but
I don't raise my kids like that. I feel that it has.
you don't have to. They're raised
They
by that in
will.
the community.
Yeah.
They feel that they're part of that, just like Venezuelans keep that, just like Dominicans, and it may
Well,
only be in them.
mine is fucked. Mine is Cuban, Venezuelan. Like
That's
he.
perfect.
Oh my God, mine
So
is
Venezuela,
really messed
Venezuela,
up.
Venezuela will find its place. Venezuela should be and will be eventually one of the richest countries in the world, because it has great
All the
natural
resources to be.
Yeah.
All the resources to be. Thank you, Joe, for being here. Do you think that I have a future in politics, and what should I? ¿Por qué me postulo?
That only you can decide, because running for office is a really hard thing, and I did it a bunch of times, and I'm not particularly good at it. I enjoyed it, but it's hard, and it's very destructive to your family, because it's a contact sport, and
Do you think that once you get? Well, do you think no? Rephrase that question. Once you get there, you gotta play politics. 'Cause I never seen a politician snitching on another politician, because I feel that everybody is in the same thing. How come politicians don't snitch on? Oh, I know you're stealing. Let me go after you.
because I don't necessarily know that they know a lot of times. But listen, I've been in politics a long time. I think the majority of people that are in politics are
Politicians?
are politicians, obviously, because they're in politics.
That should
But
be
I-
a whole thing. That should be a
That should,
whole.
but I'm not the right one to ask.
That
them.
should be a whole thing.
But I think most people are trying to do the right thing.
Yeah.
And I think, and a lot of times, when you see politicians take a wrong route, it's for either ideological reasons, which we're living through now, right? Some phony ideology that takes over your thinking, or they're stealing, or they're doing something to accumulate power in the wrong way.
How many years after you're going into politics, your ideology becomes money?
Well, listen. Unfortunately, the way our politics is practiced in America, money's an essential part. But money's always been an essential part of all things in life, right? To pretend that it's not is just also not true. Now, do I think there's too much money in politics? Of course. Listen, I will tell you, as someone who's been in a federal office, a huge percentage of your time is spent raising money, and if you don't do it, you can't have your seat unless you're somehow super famous for some other reason. And even then, it's hard to hold your seat unless you're a good fundraiser.
Politicians go to heaven, or should I make room for them back door in hell?
Well, I don't think you're going to hell, but
I'm not.
There's a good chance that a lot of politicians that are saying yes to these horrible things are going to go to hell.
Thank you, Joe. And the
Thank
last
you.
one, I have one more. Don't go.
Oh, okay.
You've done
I
a
thought I
lot.
was going to get out of the closet.
No, you staying in the closet. You like it.
I like
You
it.
like
I
it here.
I like
Are you running again? Why, Joe? You already have gray hair. You did it, right?
Yes.
You lobby it. You in it. A politician never gets out. You have your contacts. You still in it. You still in it. Are you running again? You still want this freaking headache? Why are you, Joe? Get your money and live with just freaking without shirt, drinking pina colada somewhere.
I think I'm going to be drinking pina colada. I don't think I'm running for anything, but I do think that it's a calling. It's like when you say to me, "What do you think I should run for?" Only you know that. But you have to know it, because once you do it, this isn't something you can quit, right? Once you engage, because unlike other things in life, other people come with you. There are people, if tomorrow I announced I would run, there are literally hundreds of people who have a relationship with you through politics, and they'll call me, and I want to volunteer, and I want to do this, I want to give you money, I want to have an event, I want to work in your office. So but I think it's a young man's sport. I don't think I'll ever do it again, but I also think, how you said that you shouldn't trust politicians. I agree, you shouldn't trust politicians, but you also have to understand that we need them. They're an essential part of our society, and
No, we have to work with them, Joe. This is what it
we
is.
have to figure out, and we have to find better ones. It's
I
like
don't trust
anything in
Red
life.
Bull, but I drink one every morning.
Well, then
It's bad for my health, but I drink one
have
every
a Diet
morning.
Coke every morning.
So,
Yes, sir.
come on now.
Yes.
You
But
have
look,
to.
I think we have to understand that in a democracy, we need people to do these jobs. And it's a great honor when they give you this job, but it's also a great responsibility. And in times when things are difficult, like now, it's why you need to have a good politician. You need someone that says no. Listen, I have no problem with a Republican that says no to the wrong thing. I have no problem with a Democrat that says no. What I have a problem with is when you say yes and you know it's wrong.
And I have problem with Republicans like Marco Rubio that will come up with, and this is a guy that I have to be proud of, but I cannot be proud of a Cuban-American that it's right now doing something against his own people, that he wouldn't even be able to be here if this guy would have been in his grandparents' time. A politician that will bring to his own Congress una ley, and his own party makes him vote against it, y se la mete sin vaselina, he can do shit. So, this is what pisses me off about politics, but it's okay. We're going to leave that for another day. Right now, I have gifts for you. I have the United States Constitution.
Well, thank you very much.
You're welcome. That's something that everybody should always have with them.
Absolutely, they should.
And
It's a
this
little bit
is
big to have with you,
el examen de la ciudadanía cubana. I hope you pass it. Pero déjame quitarle el precio porque I'm horrible giving gifts. Ay, no joda, Joe.
don't worry about it.
El examen de la ciudadanía cubana.
With a pencil and everything.
Yes.
Take the exam.
And I would like to do 3 before you go to see how Cuban are you
don't
really.
do that. I'm going to fail the test.
I failed it
You're
too.
I
Joe,
know, so
3.
don't
Los
do
3
it.
más fácil. Joe, lo voy a hacer. If you fail, I'm going to laugh at you. I need something to laugh at you about.
You're gonna laugh at me. There's no
I'm going to
question.
laugh at you. Okay, here we go. Espérate, Joe. We're going to laugh together, Joe. I left Cuba. I only knew 5 out of all of these. They're 18.
18 questions.
18 questions.
I'm gonna
18
fail
questions.
all of them.
It's okay, no problem.
All right.
¿A qué hora mataron a Lola?
A las 12 del día.
No, chico, a las 3.
No sé, yo que no me
Ay,
sé
Joe.
Yo no me sé lo
Ok, esta es súper...
Dale.
Ok. ¿A quién le dio Borondongo? Celia Cruz, Joe.
¿A quién le dio?
Borondongo le dio a Bernabé.
Ah.
Bernabé le dio a Muchilanga porque... ¡Ay,
I'm bad at
Joe!
tests. I'm bad at tests.
Ah, ¿qué cosa le zumba?
El mango.
¡Epa! One! You are 15% Cuban, Joe.
I'm 33% Cuban. I gotta study my test.
Yeah.
Next time I'll be ready for it.
I hope you know that one, Joe.
Okay.
That's the only one that you need to know.
Okay.
All right, everybody. Thank you, Joe, for being here. Thank you
Thank
very
you for
much.
inviting me.
Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.